So any problem you have, which is a limit problem approaching infinity, this is the way you do it. You can just ignore everything after the first terms. You only need to be paying attention to these first ones, which are, in this case, 32x over 22x squared. Now, right away, you can just cancel out an x from the top and bottom, and this would become limit as x approaches infinity of 32 over 22x. Now, like with any other limit problem, you just substitute the x for the term here, which is infinity. So it becomes 32 over 22 times infinity. And 22 times infinity would just be so big, it's just essentially infinity. 32 over infinity. 32 over infinity would just be, it would be such a small number that it's not even really anything. It's so small it doesn't even count. So it would just be 0. So your limit would be 0 on this one. Now over here on this one, it's pretty much the same. Ignore everything after these first terms. 14x squared over 32x. Again, you can cancel out an x from the top and bottom, leaving limit as x approaches 0, or infinity, being 14x over 32. Again, you substitute the x for the infinity. 14 times infinity over 32, which again, 14 times infinity, just going to be infinity. Infinity over 32. Now this, much like this one, infinity divided by 32, it's not going to make a big enough difference because infinity is such a big number to make anything different. So this would just end up being infinity, which is your limit for this one. On this last one here, then it's done in a very similar way. Take out that, just do the first ones. 15x over 12x. Just pay attention to the first terms. The x's cancel out again, leaving you with limit as x approaches infinity of 15 over 12. Now, since there's no x's, there's nothing really to substitute, so you would substitute it, nothing happens, so it's just left at 15 equals 15 over 12, which would be your limit. Now on each of these, then there's a pattern that's the same on every single limits approaching infinity problem. On this top one, then the coefficient, or the exponent on the coefficient on the bottom is bigger than the one on the top, and the limit is 0. This is always the case on problems like this. If the bottom term is bigger, it's always going to be 0. So if it's a small over a big, then it will equal 0. On this middle one here, this one here, then the top is bigger than the bottom, the top exponent. So if the top is bigger than the small, or the top is bigger than the bottom, big over small, then it's going to be infinity, like it is right here. If they are the same, if the same exponent on both, like we had in the third problem, 15x over 12x, then it'll just be the coefficients. So coefficient over coefficient, in this case was 15 over 12. That's how you would do these problems every time. Just follow these rules and it'll be right.